All right, folks, so here we have my new to me, as of last weekend, 1997 Oldsmobile Aurora. This is a vehicle that's been on my bucket list for a while, and I've owned a few of the second generation Auroras. I had a silver one with 180,000 miles on it. It was in beater condition. I had a very nice dark green Aurora, second generation, with a lot lower miles. That one had 100,000 miles on it. And those cars I haven't had for a number of years now, but that's the second generation. This is the first generation Oldsmobile Aurora. And both of those cars had the Short Star 3.5 liter V6. This has the only engine available in the first generation, the 4 liter North Star variant. This is not the same North Star you find in a Cadillac DeVille, for example. This engine was designed by GM just for this vehicle. This was really supposed to be a knockout vehicle for Oldsmobile to try to boost them up and give Oldsmobile a whole new image of a sporty, sleek car. And Oldsmobile's done that many times. For example, we have right here my Cutlass Supreme, pretty sharp looking car. I also have my two Oldsmobile Tornado Trofeos. Again, very sporty, sleek cars. Oldsmobile was a brand that was always ahead of the curve with their engineering and designs. And some of you may disagree with that, but again, this is a vehicle from 1992. Pretty good looking compared to most of the stuff that was on the market. Very unique styling, sleek. So this vehicle was another attempt by Oldsmobile to really build something revolutionary. And Hemmings actually just put out an article today about this car. It's the 25th anniversary of the Oldsmobile Aurora, so I figured how appropriate to do a video. Now, I bought this car at the auction last weekend. I did not film the buying process like I always do because the rules have changed at the particular auction where I bought this car. Not about filming, but they've added barricades all down the auction lanes because someone at a nearby auction was killed not too long ago, got hit by a vehicle in the auction lane. So they keep everybody out of the lane until the vehicle is right up at the block and the bidding is going on the car. And since I wasn't able to check the vehicle out ahead of time, those few seconds I had to inspect this car were crucial before I bid on it. So I wasn't able to film like I usually do, because usually I see the vehicles before they get to the top of the lane where the bidding is happening. And then by the time the car gets there, I'm not really looking at anything, I'm just bidding. But this time I had to really inspect the car, so I didn't get it on film. But I won this 97 Aurora. It's got higher miles, not high miles, at least not in my book. I've got vehicles everywhere. I've got 300,000 miles, 225,000 miles. The car is 165,000 miles. And what I like about that is being that this vehicle has a North Star variant engine. At that mileage, there's a pretty good chance the head gasket issues that these engines have already been addressed. Not a guarantee, and not every one of these engines is going to have a head gasket problem. It's much more common with the 4.6 liter found in the DeVille. On these 4.0s, the head gasket failure is not as common of an issue. So it's possible this car has just never had the issue. The car has green coolant in it, so someone at some point changed out the Dex Cool for the green stuff, and sometimes that happens when the head gasket's being done. So it's a possibility. I will tell you, this vehicle runs unbelievably well. It's smooth like a North Star should be. There's no misfires. You can rev this baby right up close to red line. You even feel the engine move. There's no coolant leaks. There's no oil leaks. So I know as of this moment, this vehicle does not have any head gasket problems. Could it have them in the future? It's always a possibility. However, this is one of my toy cars, and I'm not going to be driving it often, so I highly doubt it's an issue I'll have to deal with. Now, besides the 165,000 miles, this car is in beautiful condition. It's basically a one owner. Whoever owned this car bought it when it was just a year and a half old. I have the window sticker, the owner's manual, all the paperwork was in the glove box. So someone's owned this vehicle since the late 90s. They clearly garaged it because this is a black car. We know what happens to black paint jobs when they sit out in the sun. There's a few minor imperfections here and there. I just haven't had the car long enough to address them. But this car is in remarkable condition, especially the paint. All I've done is wash this car. I haven't done any sort of detailing to it. A few rock chips up here in the front of the hood, and we have some damage here on the fender. It's just superficial. There's maybe a slight indentation right there, but nothing I can't fix right here at home with basic tools. So the car is in great shape, cleaned right up with a wash. Those original beautiful wheels have almost no imperfections at all, no scratches, no curbing. The interior is really where this particular Aurora shines. Besides that floor mat, which is a little dirty, look at the condition of these seats. And these leather seats are so comfortable. The leather feels so real and quality, and you just sink right into these seats. You can see this interior has essentially no wear. Whoever had this car clearly loved it. Looks like they must have armor-alled it regularly, because I didn't do any of the shine on that dashboard. That's how I got the car. The steering wheel has no wear, even at 165,000 miles. The headliner has no imperfections whatsoever. The door panels have no signs of wear on the switches or on the armrest. This vehicle is in unbelievable condition. You would think it has a lot less miles, but sometimes with higher mileage vehicles, you're dealing with highway mileage, and highway mileage is always easier on vehicles, both cosmetically and mechanically, than city miles. A car that's constantly driven around the city, it's a lot more wear and tear, it's a lot harder mileage, a lot more getting in and out of the vehicle. And you guys hear me talk often about why I love high mileage cars. If they're like this car, they're usually in a lot better condition, both mechanically and cosmetically. And most people are looking for low mileage cars. You pick them up dirt cheap. I own this car out the door after all auction fees for $550. That's the purchase price and the auction fees. And this thing is gorgeous, and it has no mechanical issues. Despite it being a New England vehicle, no rust whatsoever. We look underneath. Looking underneath the car now, a little bit muddy, but no rust. Have almost new Michelin tires on the rear, and a body that's overall straight with no dents or major imperfections. I have both of the original key fobs and keys. The keyless entry still works. Beautiful condition over here. The dashboard, the seats, the original floor mats. The driver's one isn't perfect, but what do you expect after over 20 years? Carpets are spotless in this vehicle. Someone definitely took care of this car. On the passenger door, you have the passenger temperature controls. You can see your power seat controls are up here on the door, like a Lincoln Town Car. Heated seats for both the driver and passenger, and all sorts of lumbar controls. Rear seat passengers are certainly not uncomfortable in this vehicle. It's like a cocoon back here. The seats look very comfortable, very cushioning. Let's take a look at that 4.0 V8 that everybody loves to hate. So here it is, that transversely mounted V8 North Star, the engine that everybody loves to hate. But what people don't realize is, once the head gasket job is done on these engines, they are phenomenal. They're over 300 horsepower if you have the 4.6, depending on the year. This one's slightly less because it's a smaller engine. We have 260 horsepower and somewhere around 260 foot-pounds of torque. But still, for 97 out of a 4-liter V8, some pretty impressive numbers. And from a luxury standpoint, these engines are so smooth when they run, you can stick a penny up on them, probably just like a V12. They are very smooth, very quiet. The power band's very smooth, and they're very good on gas. These cars get close to 30 miles a gallon. High maintenance, but good engines. I know people are going to go down in the comments and say, oh, what a terrible engine. If you were buying this kind of car, you'd have to expect higher maintenance costs. You can't expect this vehicle or any vehicle with a North Star, which are obviously more expensive than buying, say, a Chevy Impala, to have the same maintenance costs as the Chevy Impala. Plenty of people buy BMWs. They need tons of repairs. Now, my TI has an M44. It's not a good example. But let's just say you have a later model BMW, a 2005 or a 6, and they need thousands of dollars of repairs every year. But people don't complain about those. But when the North Star comes up in conversation, oh, what a terrible engine. You know, after you take care of the head gasket job on these engines, and there's a few other minor things that go on them, the solenoid and the transmission, which you can get to that. It's tricky, but you can change it out without dropping the transmission, and that's like a $30 part. So besides the head gasket job, these engines really don't need much more. It's just basic wear and tear, and you'll see them in fleet service for limousine companies, for example, well over 300,000 miles. They're good engines. You just got to find one that was well maintained. It wasn't on its second, third, fourth owner, just didn't have the money to upkeep the car, and then trash talks it because they can't afford to fix it. Also, I should mention quickly, in 2004, General Motors did fix the head bolt, head stud design, and 2004 and up North Stars do not suffer from head gasket failure. You can see all your service lights show up there at the top. We have the information center. You can flip that door open. Kind of keeps it more flush, hides all those buttons. She fires right up. No check engine lights of any kind. And it does not overheat, I promise you. It always stays just shy of 200 where it's supposed to be. So you can see over here we have our mirror controls, fog lamps, have the interior light controls, the twilight setting, which is for your headlights to come on when it gets dark. We have the fan speed and temperature controls on the steering wheel and radio controls, and these all do work. I just don't want to turn the radio on and get demonetized. I love the climate control buttons up here. You can see it's just a very gentle spin to go cycle through the options. The AC does work in this car. Check this out. I'm going to lower the fan speed here a bit. I guess I'll do it from the steering wheel. I love how those lights come on and light up when you spin the wheel here. Just little extra design things that are very premium that you don't necessarily need to do in a car, but I think it's neat. So all that stuff still works wonderfully. We can cycle through the options on the computer here. It'll tell us the fuel economy average, which I haven't touched the battery in this car, so that is the average. And considering I've let it do a lot of idling to make sure it doesn't overheat, that's not bad. It'll tell you how many gallons you've used since the last reset. Get the fuel range, average speed. There's your proof it's a highway mileage car. You know, it's not at highway speeds, but it's a pretty good average to see versus 12 miles an hour. Got the oil life, oil pressure, battery voltage, transmission fluid life. Interesting. I didn't even know this car had that. I haven't even cycled through all these things. Destination, you can set up a kind of like in my Escalades, you can have the trip computer set up to track your trips and keep all your data logged in there. You get the timer, the date. Is today May 8th? It is May 8th, huh? Great to see that that's right where it's supposed to be. So we'll go ahead and put this back to, I don't know, fuel range. Close that, keep it nice and flush. The original Oldsmobile radio still works wonderful in this car. We have CD and tape, which is 97, kind of a premium. Ashtray down here. We also have two, looks like we have the cigarette lighter and an accessory plug. Most cars this age really just gave you the cigarette lighter. You need to pull it out to plug in. This is an interesting feature of this vehicle. It has a power mode and a normal mode for the transmission. I haven't tested that. The transmission shifts very smooth. Being that this vehicle is older, I don't want to mess anything up. I'm just fine with the normal mode being on. Got the fuel door and the trunk buttons over here. These are pretty neat the way they're shaped, and you press them in. In the glove box here I have the original owner's manual. We've got the business cards of the original sales consultants for this vehicle. It came from Baker, Cadillac, and Oldsmobile, Massachusetts. You can see GM using pictures of some of their other cars in here. I think that was a Park Ave back there, or a LeSabre, unless that was the Aurora. It didn't look like it though. No, it says Buick right there on the grill, so. Yep, that's definitely a Park Avenue. Good old GM. They're my favorite automaker, but I will admit they cut costs quite a bit here and there. So we got the owner's manual here, and somewhere stashed in here I have the window sticker. It's not the original window sticker. It's when this... I had a phone call come through, and then right after I ended the phone call, my battery died on my phone. So I had to take a little bit of a break, let my phone charge up. But now what I want to do for the remainder of the video is take this beauty out for a test drive, let you guys hear how she runs, try to visualize being in the car yourself and feel the smoothness of the ride. Now, one thing I should mention is that the struts in the front are starting to go bad. They are leaking oil, and you can hear them clunking around. That's the only real problem I've found with this car, which is unfortunate because one of the things this car really has going for it is its ride quality. So I'm sure with a new pair of struts, it'll ride even better. It still rides very well right now. You can just hear those clunking around. But let's go ahead and start her back up. How about that? Even the fog lights work. There's that smooth, quiet running 4-liter V8. You hear no ticks, nothing weird going on. And back here you can hear nothing. It's very quiet, and you can see there's no smoke or condensation coming out of the tailpipes. Of course, a good indicator that we do not have a head gasket problem. I love how the doors on this, like a convertible, and you have the window not enclosed by the door. It's a very sharp look. I want to show you something right here. Even have the mirrors adjusting for reversing. Very smooth. All right, so we're off. I'll try to be quiet and just let you guys listen to the engine. Maybe I'll put the window down. You know what? I put the window down. There's gonna be a bunch of road noise. It's a very quiet vehicle. That's the thing. All the windows still work in this car. The sunroof works without any hesitation. You can see we're maintaining temperature, no problem. It's a pretty uneventful vehicle to take you guys out on a test drive for. Everything works as it should. It's got plenty of power. But smooth power, that's what luxury cars are all about. That's why you don't put an LS in a vehicle like this. That's loud muscle car power. You want smooth, quiet, comfortable power in a vehicle like this. I can't wait to put some new struts in this thing. I'm going to try my best to find the OEM struts. Probably won't be easy, but it is GM. I'm sure they used them on a number of other vehicles. I want as close to that original ride quality as possible. Right now it's just a lot of popping, but still very smooth. Very, very smooth. You really wouldn't know there's a problem with the struts besides hearing them pop around up there in the front, and you can obviously feel them creaking a bit in the steering. But aside from that, everything else in this car, suspension-wise, is in great shape. But that's going to be it for the test drive. Head back over to my house and do some closing remarks. So that's going to be it for today's video on my Oldsmobile Aurora, the 1997 Olds Aurora that I bought at auction for $400. After all fees, $550 out the door. This vehicle is going to be part of my collection. That shouldn't surprise any of you that follow my channel. You know I'm a car hoarder. This is one I've been wanting for a long time, so to finally get one in this good a condition, I have no plans on selling it. Eventually, like everything else around here, I will take care of the minor TLC things this car needs, the struts, a little bit of touch-up paint here and there. So as I said earlier in the video, I'm going to put a link in the description for the article that was written this morning by Hemmings about this car and its 25-year anniversary. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you like what you see here on my channel, unique cars like this from the 90s and 80s, big land yachts, cars in pairs, mostly General Motors stuff, some old BMW, stuff like that, go ahead and subscribe, ring that bell. I'd love to have you on the channel. I do this kind of stuff. This is my hobby, my passion, and a business for me. Collecting and selling and buying these old American oddball cars. Go ahead, let me know what you think of the Aurora in the comments. If you don't like that North Star, go ahead and don't bother commenting at all because you already know its flaws. I'm going to appreciate this one right here for not overheating yet. So that's going to do it, guys. This was Al from Big Al's Bike and Auto. Keep an eye out for the next one.